Hey, it's Mike over at fishyourassoff.com, and today what we're talking about is going to be the best baits and lures for catching a crappie. You know, it's a black crappie, speckled perch, specks. I think they even call them paper mouths. I never heard that one around Florida, but I think people call them that too. But basically, it's probably the best panfish around Florida anyways. You can catch a ton of them. Make sure you check the regulations on them though. They're really weird. You know, different lake. This lake might have a 10 fish limit, and the one a few miles away might be 25 fish. So it's really weird, the different regulations that they have, even the size limit. I think it goes from like 10 to 12 inches. You know, some of them they have to be over 10, some of them they have to be over 12. So there's all kinds of weird rules. So make sure you check all that first before you, before you get in there and start keeping some fish, because that's all you need. Have a too small of a speck on board and they take your bass boat. You don't want that. But okay, let's go ahead and talk about the best lures. All right. So the best baits and lures. I've covered this in some of the other videos, but your number one, numero uno, period, end of sentence, Missouri minnows. Missouri minnows are what catch the most specks. All right, so just know that. It's going to be under a bobber probably with a little teeny tiny split shot to keep it at the part of the water column that you want it to have. You know, and that's just what you use. So now what I've caught them on, I don't think I've ever actually fished with minnows. I'm not sure. But I always catch them on Beetle Spins and little jigs. And so Beetle Spins, and I got a bunch of examples of these. So here's a Beetle Spin. It's basically just a little grub looking thing with a little bitty blade on it and a little teeny hook. Now for a panfish, specks have actually pretty big mouths, but you're still not that big, because the record is something like 3.5 pounds, a little over 3.5 pounds in Florida, so they don't get very big. So that's a Beetle Spin. I use these white ones and I use the black ones. So pretty simple. That's what you're looking for right there. Also, you get down here to tube jigs. Well, here's your little tube jigs. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe it'll be better if I move it down here. You can see the little tube jigs, and you're just gonna put a little jig head on there. See, those are just 1/16 little jig heads. Right here, you rig it up like that and get you down to the part of the water column you need it to be. Same thing with these. It's a little bitty shad, little teeny bitty little thing. But this is another one of those great speck baits. Looks just like that. You're just gonna throw this jig head on there. Damn! As soon as I started filming this, a cloud came over the house, so all of a sudden it got dark. Hopefully you can see this. So here's these little jig heads, real natural looking little shad, and you put that little 1/16 jig head in there, but that's what it looks like. And then right here is one already rigged up for you. So remember, these are fish eaters. They eat insect larvae, you know, aquatic insect larvae, and those little grass shrimp and stuff too, but mainly fish. So this is their target right here. Little bitty fish like this, little minnows and things like that. And just like, you know, whether you're fishing for a tarpon or you're fishing for a speckled perch, you know, you want to match the hatch. And that's what they're going to be feeding on, these little minnows like this. So here's your best bet. All these. You can use feather jigs too. I just never have. I'm sure they work because people say they work all the time. I like a soft plastic because I think when the fish bites it, it wants to hold on to it longer because it kind of feels real. You know, it kind of feels real. I also know that people use some of those teeny tiny little spoons and they troll them to figure out where the specks are, just because you can cover so much water with them. So these little bitty things, they're like 1/8 ounce little spoons and 1/16 ounce little spoons. So here's basically the baits and lures. If you can get minnows, just use them because they catch everything anyways. And then use all these other things if you can't find any live bait. Now, as far as best tackle goes, well, I caught most of mine with a cane pole. And that's just vertical jigging a lot of times. When I was little, we used to camp on this canal in the wintertime, and we'd bring a little lantern out and hang it over a cattle bridge that went over the canal, and we would just vertical jig right by the pilings, and we could catch these specks. It was usually like in January when it was kind of cold out, when it was the best time, but cane pole. And that's also another way I've done it, and I got an example down here. So this is supposed to be a side view of a lily pad. See, there's a root, there's the bottom, there's the pad, and they'll be inside these lily pads, and you're just going to vertical jig. So you're going to drop your thing, and here's a top view of the lily pad. Sometimes there's little openings. All you're going to do is use your cane pole and just drop your jig or beetle spin or whatever in the hole and kind of bounce it a few times, then move to the next hole, bounce it a few times, move to the next hole. And that's a great way to catch them, because they'll be in there in these lily pads or cattails. It doesn't matter, just something you can drop your little jig or whatever in there, and they'll be in those roots because they're very structure oriented. You certainly want to be around some sort of structure. Is usually where they're going to be hanging out. Sure, you can catch them in the top of the water column, if there's a bunch of their forage up there, but normally you're going to catch them around some sort of underwater structure. Okay, let's get back up here. Best tackle. If you are going to use a spinning reel, 2000 series spinning reel, or even smaller. I just don't have anything smaller, but you can use something smaller than that too, because you really don't need it. The only reason you want even a 2000 is because you're going to catch a lot of bass when you're jigging, vertical jigging inside some of these lily pads and cattails and other places. So bass, obviously it's going to be a little harder to get out than a 1 or 2 pound, crappie. So 2000 series spinning reel, 7 to 8 foot medium action rod, and 6 to 8 pound mono is probably going to be your best bet. I'm going to give you another look at all these lures in case you need to go to Walmart or somewhere to get them. Beetle Spin, little teeny jig heads, little teeny tubes. There you go, right there. So that's it as far as the best baits and lures for catching these speckled perch. Little fish, they got a little mouth, and you got to have little hooks to do it. That's the problem with them. That's why with these spinning outfit, it's hard to have enough weight to do any sort of casting at all. So, a lot of these things you would just kind of troll if you're going to use a spinning, setup like that. But I've caught most of mine with cane poles. Just a big long cane pole, bloop, right in the water like that, and just keep moving on until you find them. That's when they're, when they're in closer to shore. So a deep lily pad is a really good place to look. Like I've done it out there on the Okeechobee, Lake Okeechobee, and those are really deep canals. They're 8-10 feet deep, and that's great. That's a great depth. Those big long lily pads, stems, and you just doop, dropping on all of them. But you should definitely try to catch them if you can. They're delicious. Whatever. They fight kind of, but they're just fun to catch, fun to be out there, fun to eat. But anyways, you can find more of this information right on our website. It's www.fishyourassoff.com. The whole website is simple tips to help fishermen catch more fish. That's it for today. So until next time, we'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.